My mother-in-law stood in my hospital room 2 hours after I gave birth and demanded a DNA test. She said my son didn't look like her son, and she needed proof he was really her grandchild. So I smiled, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Absolutely. Let's do it." What the DNA test revealed didn't just prove my son was my husband's. It destroyed my mother-in-law's entire world. And honestly, she deserved every second of it. My name is Shanice. I'm 32 years old. And this is the story of how my mother-in-law accused me of cheating, demanded a DNA test on my newborn son, and ended up exposing a secret that tore her own family apart. But before I tell you what that DNA test revealed, I need you to understand something. This didn't come out of nowhere. My mother-in-law, Patricia, had been trying to destroy my marriage from day one. And if you've ever had a mother-in-law who treated you like you weren't good enough for her son, comment "I know this pain" below. Because trust me, you're going to want to hear how this ends. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. I met my husband Marcus 6 years ago. We met at a friend's barbecue. He was charming, funny, successful, and fine as hell. We clicked instantly. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. During that time, I'd met his mother, Patricia, maybe 5 or 6 times. She was always polite, always smiling, always saying the right things. But there was something in her eyes, something cold, like she was measuring me and finding me lacking. When Marcus proposed, I was overjoyed. He took me to our favorite restaurant, got down on one knee, the whole romantic scene. I called my mom immediately, crying happy tears. Then Marcus called his mother. I was sitting right there when he told her. I watched his face change. The excitement drained out of him. "What do you mean, are you sure?" he said into the phone, his voice tight. "Mom, I love her. Yes, I'm sure." A pause. "No, we haven't discussed a prenup yet, but Mom, that's not..." Another pause. His jaw clenched. "I'm 30 years old. I don't need your permission." When he hung up, I asked him what she said. "Nothing," he muttered. She'll come around." She didn't come around. Planning our wedding was a nightmare because of Patricia. She hated the venue. "Too small," she said. "Not prestigious enough." She hated my dress. "Too modern," she said. "Not traditional enough." She hated the menu, the flowers, the music, the guest list. But the worst part? She kept making comments about me. "Are you sure Shanice is the right fit for our family?" She asked Marcus at a family dinner, right in front of me. "I mean, does she come from money? What does her family do?" "Mom," Marcus said, his voice warning. "I'm just asking questions, sweetheart. You're my only son. I want to make sure you're making the right choice." "My family is working class," I said calmly, looking her in the eye. "My father is a mechanic. My mother is a nurse. We're not wealthy, but we're hardworking and honest." Patricia smiled that cold smile. "Of course, dear. I didn't mean anything by it. I'm sure they're lovely people." But her eyes said something else entirely. Marcus apologized later. "She's just protective," he said. "She'll get better once we're married." I wanted to believe him. Our wedding day should have been perfect. Patricia wore white. Not cream, not ivory, pure white. To my wedding. When I saw her walk into the church, I felt my blood pressure spike. My bridesmaids gasped. Even the photographer looked uncomfortable. "Is that appropriate?" my maid of honor whispered. I decided not to make a scene. It was my wedding day. I wasn't going to let Patricia ruin it. But during the reception, during the mother-son dance, Patricia whispered something in Marcus's ear. I saw his face change. He looked at me, then back at his mother, and shook his head firmly. Later, I asked him what she said. "She asked me if we'd signed a prenup yet," he said, looking embarrassed. And when I said no, she said it wasn't too late. "Marcus, we've been married for 3 hours." "I know," he pulled me close. "Ignore her. You're my wife now. That's all that matters." But I couldn't ignore her, because I knew this was just the beginning. Patricia called Marcus every single day, sometimes twice a day. She'd call during dinner, during movies, during our private time. "Mom, I'm with my wife," Marcus would say. "Can I call you back?" "Oh, I'll just be quick," she'd say. Then she'd talk for 45 minutes. She had a key to our apartment. She'd show up unannounced. I'd come home from work to find her in my kitchen, reorganizing my cabinets. "I was just helping," she'd say sweetly. This kitchen was such a mess. It wasn't a mess. She was marking her territory. She'd criticize how I cooked, how I cleaned, how I dressed. "Is that what you're wearing to church?" she'd ask, looking at my perfectly appropriate dress. "Marcus, does Shanice know how to make your favorite pot roast?" "I should teach her." "Sweetheart, when are you going to give me grandchildren?" "You're not getting any younger." That last one. That comment about grandchildren. That's where this whole nightmare really started. 2 years into our marriage, I got pregnant. Marcus and I were thrilled. We'd been trying for 6 months, and finally, those 2 pink lines appeared. We decided to announce it at Sunday dinner at Patricia's house. "Mom, we have some news," Marcus said, grinning. Patricia looked up from her plate, fork frozen halfway to her mouth. "We're having a baby," I said, smiling. I expected her to be happy, excited. She'd been asking for grandchildren for 2 years. Instead, her face went cold. "Oh," she said flatly. "Well, that was fast." "Fast?" Marcus frowned. "Mom, we've been married for 2 years. Still." Patricia set down her fork carefully. "That's quite a surprise." "A good surprise," Marcus said firmly. "Of course." Patricia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Congratulations." The rest of dinner was awkward. Patricia barely spoke to me. She kept looking at my stomach like it was something alien. In the car on the way home, Marcus tried to make excuses for her. "She's probably just in shock," he said. "She'll be excited once it sinks in." But I knew better. I saw something in Patricia's eyes that night. Suspicion. And it was about to get so much worse. Throughout my pregnancy, Patricia became obsessed. She'd show up at our apartment unannounced, demanding to see my prenatal vitamins, my doctor's paperwork, my ultrasound photos. "I just want to make sure everything is legitimate," she'd say. "Legitimate?" I asked. "What does that mean?" "You know what I mean," she said, looking at me with those cold eyes. At my baby shower, which my mother organized, not Patricia. Patricia pulled Marcus aside. I saw them arguing in the kitchen. Later, Marcus told me what she said. She asked me if I was sure the baby was mine. My mouth fell open. "What?" "She said you got pregnant awfully fast and that I should be careful." "Marcus, we've been trying for 6 months. And I've never even looked at another man. I know that." He pulled me into his arms. "Baby, I know." I told her she was being ridiculous. I told her to stop, but she didn't stop. When I went into labor, Marcus called his mother. I told him not to, but he insisted. "She's going to be a grandmother," he said. "She should be here." I gave birth after 18 hours of labor. Our son Isaiah was perfect. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. He had Marcus's eyes and my nose and the most beautiful little fingers I'd ever seen. I was exhausted, overwhelmed, emotional, and completely in love. Marcus was crying, holding our son, calling him my little man. Then Patricia walked into the hospital room. She didn't congratulate us, didn't ask how I was feeling, didn't coo over her grandson. She walked straight up to Marcus, looked at Isaiah in his arms and said, "He doesn't look like you." The room went silent. "What?" Marcus said. "He doesn't look like you," Patricia repeated louder this time. "He doesn't look like anyone in our family." I was so tired I could barely process what she was saying. But my mother, who was sitting in the corner, stood up immediately. "Excuse me?" my mother said, her voice sharp. Patricia ignored her. "Marcus, I think you need to get a DNA test." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Marcus's voice was shaking. "He's 2 hours old. Babies look like their fathers," Patricia said firmly. "That's nature. And that baby doesn't look like you. He looks like someone else." She was accusing me, right there in my hospital room, 2 hours after I'd given birth. She was accusing me of cheating on her son. I started crying. Not sad tears. Angry tears. "Get out," I said, my voice breaking. "Shanice, I'm just being practical," Patricia started. "Get out!" I screamed. Marcus finally moved. "Mom, you need to leave. Now." "Marcus, I'm trying to protect you." "Leave," Marcus shouted. "Before I call security." Patricia left, but not before she looked at me one last time with those cold, victorious eyes. She thought she'd won. She thought she'd planted doubt in Marcus's mind. She had no idea what was about to happen. After Patricia left, I sat in that hospital bed, holding my son, shaking with fury. Marcus was pacing, running his hands through his hair, looking devastated. "I'm so sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry. My mother was ready to go to war. I cannot believe that woman." Who says that to a woman who just gave birth? But I was thinking clearly, clearer than I had in months. "Marcus," I said calmly, "get the DNA test." He stopped pacing. "What?" "Get the DNA test," I repeated. "Your mother wants proof? Let's give her proof." "Shanice, I know you don't need it," I interrupted. "But she does, and I'm tired of her accusations. I'm tired of her looking at me like I'm some kind of gold digger or cheater. So let's do it. Let's get the test. And when it comes back showing that Isaiah is 100% your son, your mother is going to apologize to me. On her knees. Marcus looked at me with so much love and guilt. You shouldn't have to prove anything. I know, I said. But I'm going to anyway, because I'm done with her. My mother smiled. That's my daughter. So we ordered the DNA test, right there from the hospital room. What none of us knew, not me, not Marcus, not even Patricia, was us, that this DNA test was about to reveal something that had nothing to do with whether Isaiah was Marcus's son, and it was going to destroy Patricia's entire world. Now, before I tell you what that DNA test revealed, I need to ask you for something. If you're invested in this story, if you want to see Patricia get what she deserves, if you believe women shouldn't be accused of cheating 2 hours after giving birth, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscription helps us share more stories like this. Stories of women who stood up, fought back, and won. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because what happens next is going to blow your mind. And if you've already subscribed, drop a comment telling me what you think Patricia's about to find out. Because trust me, you're not going to guess this twist. Okay, let's get back to the story. The DNA test took 10 days to come back. 10 days of Patricia calling Marcus constantly, asking if we'd gotten the results yet. 10 days of me holding my perfect son, knowing he was ours, knowing the test would prove it. 10 days of Marcus apologizing over and over, even though none of this was his fault. Finally, the email arrived. Marcus and I were sitting on the couch. Isaiah was asleep in his bassinet. Marcus opened the email on his laptop. I watched his face as he read the results. He went pale. His hands started shaking. What? I said, my heart suddenly pounding. What does it say? He's mine, Marcus whispered. Isaiah is definitely mine. 99.9% probability of paternity. I exhaled in relief. Good. Now call your mother and tell her to apologize. But Marcus wasn't smiling. He was staring at the screen like he'd seen a ghost. Marcus, what's wrong? We knew this was the result. There's more, he said quietly. The test, it shows more than just Isaiah's paternity. What do you mean? He turned the laptop toward me. I read the results. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Then I saw it. A section labeled, Additional Genetic Relationships Detected. And under that section, a statement that made my blood run cold. Sample A, Marcus Thompson, shows a 50% genetic match with Sample C, Isaiah Thompson, confirming paternity. However, Sample also shows unexpected genetic markers suggesting a half-sibling relationship with... I stopped reading, looked at Marcus. Half-sibling relationship? I said. With who? Marcus scrolled down. And there it was. The test had somehow cross-referenced with other genetic data, and it showed that Marcus had a half-sibling he never knew about. Someone in the genetic database matched him as a half-brother. How is this possible? I whispered. Marcus was shaking. I don't have any siblings. I'm an only child. My mom always told me I was the only one. We sat there in silence, trying to process what this meant. Then Marcus said the thing we were both thinking. My mother lied to me. Marcus spent the next 3 days digging into the genetic database results. The half-sibling match was from a woman named Denise Williams. She was 45 years old, 13 years older than Marcus. She lived 3 hours away, and according to the genetic testing company's database, she'd been searching for biological family members for years. Marcus found her on social media. She had photos of her life, her kids, her husband. And in one photo from years ago, there was an older man. The caption said, Dad's 70th birthday. Wish we could have found my bio family, but grateful for the family I have. Marcus sent her a message. Hi, Denise. My name is Marcus Thompson. I recently took a DNA test that shows we might be half-siblings. I'd like to talk to you if you're willing. She responded within an hour. Oh my God, I've been waiting for this message my whole life. They talked on the phone that night. I listened to Marcus's side of the conversation, watching his face go through every emotion. Shock, anger, sadness, disbelief. When he hung up, he told me everything. Denise's mother had gotten pregnant at 19. The father, Denise's biological father, was a married man. He'd promised to leave his wife and be with her. But when she told him she was pregnant, he disappeared. Denise's mother never saw him again. She raised Denise alone. For years, Denise wondered about her father. When DNA testing became available, she submitted her sample, hoping to find him or any biological relatives. She never expected to find a half-brother. She asked me about my father, Marcus said quietly. She wanted to know if he was still alive, if I knew anything about him. What did you tell her? I told her my father died when I was 5. Car accident. Marcus's voice cracked. But Shanice, I did the math. Denise is 45. I'm 32. That's a 13-year gap. Which means my father had an affair and got someone pregnant when my mom was still married to him. And my mom either never knew or she knew and never told me. He looked at me with devastated eyes. My mother made you get a DNA test because she was so sure you were cheating on me. But her own husband, my father, cheated on her and had a whole other child. I pulled him close. I'm so sorry. She has to know, Marcus said. I have to tell her. And then she's going to apologize to you for every single thing she's ever said. The next day, Marcus called Patricia. Mom, we got the DNA results. I could hear her voice through the phone, sharp and expectant. And? Isaiah is my son, 99.9% probability. Just like I told you. Silence. Then, well, good. I'm glad we cleared that up. We're not done, Marcus said, his voice hard. The test showed something else. What? It showed that I have a half-sister. Her name is Denise Williams. She's 45 years old. Silence. Mom, did you hear me? I have a half-sister, which means Dad had another child. That's impossible, Patricia said, but her voice was shaking. It's not impossible. I have the results right here. And I've talked to her. She's real, Mom. She's alive. And she's been looking for her biological family her whole life. Marcus, you don't understand. No, you don't understand, Marcus interrupted, his voice rising. You stood in my wife's hospital room 2 hours after she gave birth to your grandson and accused her of cheating on me. You demanded a DNA test to prove my son was mine. You humiliated her. You made her cry, all because you were so convinced that my wife was unfaithful. Marcus. But the only person in this family who was unfaithful was Dad, Marcus continued. He cheated on you. He had a child with another woman, and you either knew and never told me, or you didn't know, which means you accused Shanice of something you were completely blind to in your own marriage. I could hear Patricia crying through the phone. We're done, Marcus said. Until you apologize to Shanice, on your knees, in person, you don't get to see Isaiah. You don't get to call yourself his grandmother. And you don't get to be part of our lives. He hung up. Then he looked at me and said, I should have done that years ago. For 2 weeks, we didn't hear from Patricia. No phone calls, no text messages, no surprise visits. It was the most peaceful 2 weeks of my marriage. Marcus was processing everything. He'd started talking to Denise regularly. They'd even made plans to meet in person. I have a sister, he kept saying, like he couldn't believe it. A sister. Denise sent us photos. She looked like Marcus, same eyes, same smile. It was undeniable. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, Patricia showed up at our apartment. She didn't knock. She still had a key. Marcus hadn't taken it back yet. She walked in while I was feeding Isaiah on the couch. Get out, I said immediately. Please, Patricia said. Her voice was different, smaller. Please, I need to talk to you both. Marcus came out of the bedroom. Mom, you can't just walk in here. I know. Patricia's eyes were red, puffy. She'd been crying. I know, I'm sorry. But I need to tell you the truth. Both of you. Marcus crossed his arms. You have 5 minutes. Patricia sat down in the chair across from me. She looked at Isaiah in my arms, and her face crumpled. He's beautiful, she whispered. My grandson is beautiful. 4 minutes, Marcus said coldly. Patricia took a shaky breath. I knew, she said quietly. You knew what? Marcus asked. I knew about Denise. Patricia looked up at Marcus with devastated eyes. I knew your father had an affair. I knew he got someone pregnant. The room went silent. You knew? Marcus's voice was shaking. You knew I had a sister and you never told me? I was so ashamed, Patricia said, tears streaming down her face. Your father had the affair before you were born. I was pregnant with you when I found out. This woman, Denise's mother, she called the house. She told me she was pregnant. She told me your father had promised to leave me for her. Patricia wiped her eyes. I confronted your father. He admitted everything. He said it was a mistake, that he loved me, that he wanted to stay and be a family. I gave him an ultimatum, her or us. He chose us. But he had another daughter, Marcus said, his voice hard. I know, Patricia sobbed. I know. and I made him cut off all contact. I told him if he ever tried to see that child, I'd divorce him and take everything. So he didn't. He never met her. He never paid child support. He just erased her. Marcus looked sick. And you were okay with that? I was hurt, Patricia shouted, then immediately lowered her voice. I was hurt and angry and scared. I had a baby on the way. I couldn't afford to leave him. So I buried it. I pretended it never happened. And when your father died when you were 5, I thought that secret died with him. But it didn't, I said quietly. Patricia looked at me. No, it didn't. Is that why you accused me of cheating? I asked. Because you were projecting your own experience onto us? Patricia nodded, fresh tears falling. When you got pregnant, all those feelings came back. The fear, the betrayal, the wondering if the baby was really his. I looked at Marcus, so happy and trusting, and I thought you might be doing to him what that woman did to me. But I didn't, I said firmly. I would never. I know that now, Patricia said. I see how much you love him. I see how much you love Isaiah. And I'm so sorry, Shanice. I'm sorry for everything I said, everything I did, everything I put you through. She stood up and just like Marcus had promised, she got down on her knees in front of me. I'm begging you to forgive me, Patricia said. I was wrong about everything. I looked at Marcus. He nodded slightly, leaving the decision to me. I looked down at Patricia, this woman who had made my life hell for years, kneeling in my living room, broken and crying. And I thought about Isaiah in my arms, my perfect son, my family. I forgive you, I said quietly. But things have to change. Patricia nodded desperately. Anything, whatever you want. First, give me your key to our apartment. No more surprise visits. Patricia immediately pulled the key off her keychain and handed it to me. Second, you apologized to my mother. You disrespected her in that hospital room too. I will. I'll call her today. Third, you meet Denise. You don't get to pretend she doesn't exist just because it's uncomfortable for you. She's Marcus's sister. She's Isaiah's aunt. She's family. Patricia hesitated, then nodded. Okay. And fourth, I said, looking her directly in the eye, you never, ever question my faithfulness again. You never make comments about my family, my background, or my worthiness to be Marcus's wife, because I am his wife. Isaiah is his son, and we are not going anywhere. I understand, Patricia whispered. Then you can be Isaiah's grandmother, I said. But you're on probation. One more incident, and you're out of our lives for good. Patricia nodded, crying. Thank you. Thank you. Marcus helped his mother to her feet. Mom, I need you to understand something. Shanice is my family now. She comes first, always. If you can't respect that, then we can't have a relationship. I understand, Patricia said. I'm so sorry, son. To both of you. After she left, Marcus sat next to me on the couch. Did we do the right thing? He asked. I looked down at Isaiah, sleeping peacefully in my arms. Yes, I said, we did it. 2 months later, we met Denise in person. She drove the 3 hours to our city with her husband and teenage son. We met at a restaurant for lunch. The moment Marcus and Denise saw each other, they both started crying. You look like him, Denise said, touching Marcus's face. You look like our father. I wish you could have known him, Marcus said. I know him now, Denise said, smiling through tears. Through you. Watching them together, 2 siblings, who should have known each other their whole lives, finally meeting in their 30s and 40s was one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking things I'd ever seen. Patricia didn't come to that first meeting. She wasn't ready. But 3 months later, Marcus arranged another meeting. And this time, he insisted Patricia be there. I watched Patricia meet Denise for the first time. The daughter her husband had with another woman. The child she'd forced him to abandon. Patricia cried. Denise cried. I'm so sorry, Patricia said. You deserved to know your father. That was my fault. He made his choices too, Denise said gently. But thank you for saying that. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and full of decades of hurt. But it was honest. And it was the beginning of healing. That was a year ago. Isaiah is now 16 months old. He's walking, babbling, and getting into absolutely everything. Patricia is a completely different grandmother than I thought she'd be. She's respectful. She calls before visiting. She brings thoughtful gifts. She never criticizes me. She's become close with my mother. They actually have coffee together once a month now, which is something I never thought I'd see. And Denise? Denise is part of our family. She and Marcus talk on the phone every week. Her son and Isaiah are cousins. We spent holidays together. The DNA test that was supposed to prove I was unfaithful ended up exposing a 32-year-old secret and bringing a whole new branch of family into our lives. But here's the part I haven't told anyone until now. Here's the secret I've been keeping. 6 months ago, I got a message on Facebook from a woman I didn't know. Her name was Linda. She was 58 years old. The message said, "Hi, Shanice. You don't know me, but I need to talk to you about Patricia Thompson. It's about her husband. It's important." I almost deleted it. I'd had enough drama, but something made me respond. "Who are you?" I wrote back. "I was best friends with Patricia in college," Linda replied. "And I know something about her late husband that she's never told anyone. Something about the affair." We arranged a phone call. What Linda told me made everything make sense. Linda and Patricia had been roommates in college. They'd been best friends. Linda knew Patricia when she met Marcus's father, David. David was charming, Linda told me, but he was also a serial cheater. Patricia knew this before she married him. She knew? She knew, Linda confirmed. He'd cheated on his previous girlfriend with Patricia. That's how they got together. Patricia thought she was special, thought he'd be different with her, but he wasn't. No, he cheated on her throughout their entire marriage. Denise's mother wasn't the first affair. She was just the one that resulted in a pregnancy. I sat there processing this. Patricia stayed because she was pregnant with Marcus and didn't want to be a single mother, Linda continued. She'd grown up poor. David had money, so she looked the other way. She accepted the affairs as long as he was discreet. Then why did she freak out when Denise's mother got pregnant? I asked. Because Denise's mother wanted him to leave Patricia and be a real father to Denise. That was the line. Patricia could tolerate affairs, but she couldn't tolerate being left. So she made David cut off all contact with Denise. It was about control. Linda paused. The reason I'm telling you this is because Patricia has been calling me. For the first time in 30 years, she's been calling me. She wants to talk about what happened. She wants forgiveness. Do you think you'll forgive her? I asked. I don't know, Linda said honestly. She treated me terribly when I tried to tell her the truth about David back then. She chose him over our friendship. And now, 30 years later, she wants to talk because she finally sees who he really was. Why are you telling me all this? I asked. Because I read about you, Linda said. Patricia told me what she did to you in the hospital, how she accused you of cheating, and I wanted you to know that her behavior had nothing to do with you. It was about her own guilt, her own shame, her own denial about who her husband really was. I thanked Linda for calling. We talked a bit more, then hung up. I never told Marcus about Linda's call. I never told Patricia that I knew the full truth about her marriage. Because here's what I realized. Patricia was a victim too. Was she wrong to accuse me? Absolutely. Was she wrong to force David to abandon Denise? Absolutely. But she was also a young, pregnant woman who was scared and hurt and trying to protect herself the only way she knew how. She made terrible choices. But she was also trapped in a terrible situation. Does that excuse what she did to me? No. But it helps me understand it. And understanding is the first step to real forgiveness. Last week, Patricia asked if she could take Isaiah to the park. A year ago, I would have said absolutely not. Now, I said yes. I watched them from the bench. Patricia pushing Isaiah on the swing, both of them laughing. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Denise. Thank you for making Marcus get that DNA test. I finally have a brother, and Isaiah has an aunt who loves him. I smiled and texted back, thank you for existing. Because the truth is, that DNA test, the one Patricia demanded out of spite and suspicion, gave us something we never expected. It gave us family, real family, honest family. It destroyed Patricia's carefully constructed lies and forced all of us to face uncomfortable truths. But it also healed us. If your mother-in-law has ever made you feel like you're not good enough, I need you to hear this. Her behavior is rarely about you. It's about her own pain, her own insecurities, her own unhealed wounds. That doesn't mean you have to accept abuse. That doesn't mean you have to tolerate disrespect. But it does mean you can set boundaries without hatred. You can protect yourself without becoming bitter. Patricia demanded a DNA test because she couldn't face the truth about her own marriage. She projected her pain onto me because it was easier than dealing with her own trauma. The test proved my son was my husband's. But more than that, it proved something else. Secrets don't stay buried forever. Truth always finds a way out. And sometimes the thing that's meant to destroy you ends up setting you free. But there's one more thing I need to tell you. One more secret that only Marcus and I know. Remember how I said Patricia apologized and we're working on our relationship? That's true. But what I didn't tell you is what happened 3 months ago. Patricia was diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. When Marcus told me, my first thought was, she deserves it. I'm being honest with you. That was my first thought. This woman had tormented me for years. She'd accused me of cheating hours after I gave birth. She'd tried to poison my marriage. She'd abandoned her husband's daughter for decades. And my first thought when I heard she had cancer was that it was karma. I felt guilty about thinking that. But I thought it. Then Patricia asked to see me, alone. I went to her house, expecting another apology or maybe an explanation about her treatment plan. Instead, she handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it," she said quietly. Inside was a legal document, her will. She'd left everything to Isaiah, her house, her savings, her investments, everything. "Patricia, you don't have to," I started. "Yes, I do," she interrupted. "Marcus is going to inherit from his father's life insurance and pension. But Isaiah, he deserves something from me, and you deserve to know that I trust you to raise him with those resources." I looked at her, this woman who had doubted me so deeply, now putting my son's entire inheritance in my hands. "I'm going to beat this cancer," Patricia said firmly. "The doctors say I have an excellent prognosis. But in case I don't, I needed you to know. I needed you to see that I trust you, completely." I started crying. "Patricia, you're a good mother, Shanice," she said, her voice cracking. "You're a good wife. You're a good woman. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see that." We hugged, and for the first time since I'd known her, it felt real. Patricia is in remission now. Her cancer treatment was successful. She's coming to Isaiah's second birthday party next month. So is Denise and her family. So is my mother. So is everyone. We're a strange, complicated, messy family. But we're a family. People ask me how I forgave Patricia, how I let go of all the pain she caused me. The truth? I didn't forgive her all at once. Forgiveness isn't a moment. It's a process. Some days I remember the hospital room and I get angry all over again. Some days I look at her, playing with Isaiah, and I feel grateful that he has a grandmother who loves him. Some days I think about Denise growing up without a father, and I feel sad for everyone involved. It's complicated. Healing is complicated. But that DNA test, that test that was supposed to prove I was a cheater, that test that Patricia demanded out of cruelty and suspicion, that test saved us all. It exposed secrets that needed to be exposed. It brought family together that should have been together all along. It forced all of us to face the truth instead of living in denial. And it gave Isaiah a bigger, more honest family than any of us expected. So here's what I want to know from you. If you were in my position, could you have forgiven Patricia? Comment yes or no below. If you've ever been falsely accused of something and later proven innocent, comment I was proven innocent. If you believe that DNA tests can reveal more than just paternity, comment truth always comes out. And if you think Patricia got exactly what she deserved when that test backfired on her, comment karma is real. Share this story with anyone who's dealing with a difficult mother-in-law. Sometimes they need to hear that it's possible to set boundaries, demand respect, and still find peace. Or share it with someone who's been falsely accused. Let them know that truth always wins in the end. My name is Shanice. I'm 32 years old. My mother-in-law demanded a DNA test on my baby because she was convinced I was a cheater. That test proved my baby was my husband's son, but it also proved that her late husband was the real cheater. That her husband had a secret daughter he abandoned. That her perfect marriage was built on lies and affairs and denial. The irony is almost poetic. She wanted to expose me. Instead, she exposed her own family's secrets. She wanted to destroy my marriage. Instead, she brought us a sister we never knew we had. She wanted proof of betrayal. She got it, just not the betrayal she expected. And me, I got vindication. I got justice. I got respect. But most importantly, I got peace. Because I don't have to wonder anymore if my mother-in-law thinks I'm good enough. I don't have to prove my faithfulness over and over again. I don't have to accept disrespect in my own home. That DNA test set me free. And Patricia? That DNA test destroyed her carefully constructed world. But it also freed her too. Freed her from 32 years of lies. Freed her from denial. Freed her from pretending. Sometimes the thing you fear the most is exactly what you need. Patricia feared the truth, but the truth saved us all. Thank you for listening to my confession.